All right, we are back. This is episode 5, and yeah, it's getting real now. We got a thumbnail, so watch out. Um, but yeah, I feel like we are in a really good place in terms of the topics we're talking about,
hmm
and I feel like the last episode was more about the discipline of detachment and
hmm
almost empowering yourself from almost just freeing yourself of the pressure of
hmm
everything, of striving, of achieving. And what we were talking about off camera in terms of finding out your why, it's almost like that's a part of the chain of events. So once you detach from social media, whatever, what you want, what your dreams are, and really have alone time and say, what am I doing this for? And something that I keep seeing, especially recently, is people don't really know what they're fighting for. And it's one thing to say, hey, I create things. Like I have most of my friends are people that create stuff. But I think what really brings clarity is what are you doing this for? And why are you going to continue to invest in yourself towards this, you know? And to what end? And to really care about that answer and to really act as if you care about that answer.
hmm
And you know, but for you, what do you think is the benefit from like asking yourself the tough questions, like before you step in the studio, or maybe like before you sign a deal, or before you say I want to drop an album? Because I think people use that very lightly. It's like, hey, bro, I want to drop an album. It's
yeah.
like, why?
Why? That is the question. And kind of to go back to what you said when we started, not only understanding what you're fighting for, but understanding that you never stop fighting.
Yeah,
There is no point where you stop fighting. That's life. Life is a constant. I feel like this is a weird term, but like a constant battle.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
a constant battle for balance. Um, what was the question?
Like figuring out your why before you kind of jump into commitment within this. You know what I mean? Because people do this
Yeah.
for a decade and then they're like, why am I still here?
hmm
Whereas I feel like that speaks to a question you didn't answer long ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like I have a good grasp of my why I'm doing things, and I found it outside of music. I
Mm,
don't think you find your why within music or whatever gift you have, whether it's songwriting, producing, DJing, is just the gift you've been given to serve that why or that purpose.
mm-hmm.
Um, it shows up everywhere else in life, in just the most basic areas of life, and it's kind of on you to just be aware of the signals and the signs um, that are pointing you in the direction you're supposed to be going. Um, I was just about to say something.
Mm.
Uh, that'll be the first thing. It'll come back to me, but it usually shows up everywhere else but your job.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No, I think that's a really good point because I feel like when I'm not doing anything creative, that's when things come, whether it's like
hmm
whispers in your head or an inclination, or whenever you see something and how it resonates with you.
hmm
And that's why I think it's important for people to use your phone to actually guide you in terms of like, what do you watch? Like, what are you listening to? You know
hmm
what I mean? What is like your environment?
Yeah.
Because if you're in an environment that like almost like lends you, almost like guides you to that thing that you really want, then you almost find yourself like you get the answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause you're in an environment that it's like, I'm not gonna say inspiration, but yeah, kind of like, inspiring stuff or things that make you think.
Yeah.
And that could even be people. You can meet someone that literally inspires you. I feel like that's what it really was for me a lot of the time.
Mhm.
It's one thing to watch a good lecture or a podcast or whatever it may be, but when you meet someone who's living something you want to live,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, this person is just a person, like he's just a human being, but this is like very real, and I definitely resonate with what so and so is saying.
Yeah.
To me, that was probably the biggest. And it doesn't even have to be musical. You could just meet this person or just
Hmm.
become friends with them or just like cross paths with them. And that could be a impetus for like you to actually like, no, I'm gonna take this seriously, or I'm gonna pivot in this direction. Um,
Yeah.
so I think people, again, that's why the environment is so important. Like if you're not around people that are almost making it easier for you to stay down, you know what I mean? Or to take a risk, then it's kind of like, well, I don't know if you're helping yourself really, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like people don't understand how important that is. Like the environment, like your group of friends, if all your homies are thriving in an artistic field, even if you're struggling, you're like, this is okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this, you know what I mean? I know the ebbs and flows, or I've seen it.
Yeah.
Um, and you can hold on to something, you know what I mean? Whereas, if all your people around you are maybe living in a type of way that is not the way you want to live, you're almost going to do what your friends do because they're your friends, and that's dangerous, especially if it's something that you don't really resonate with inside, or like inside you want more, you know?
Yeah. And I think being aware of the two sides of a good feeling, because something can be bad for you but feel good.
Hmm.
Um, and kind of having the ability to see where each road leads you, I guess. So if you're hanging with the wrong crowd or people who don't resonate with you, or reflect what you want for yourself, um, understanding what continuing to be around that group of people will lead you, in the same for a good group of people, um, in choosing the better path. It's all just choices at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and as long as you have a few more good choices than bad choices, I think you'll be fine.
Hmm.
Um, but that's kind of what I was wanting to talk about too, just about confirmation and uh, being aware of those signs, the small signs, the big signs that you're on the right path, um, and seeing through the bad or seemingly bad moments, whether it's like a lack of funds, a lack of resources, um, not knowing if you're on the right path,
Hmm.
um, being aware of just the small signs, like somebody
Yeah.
commenting on your post, somebody shooting you a DM, um, somebody recognizing the energy you have just out in public.
Hmm.
It really it's the small things that keep you going, or that are there to keep you on track. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how important that is, because I feel like I remember all my signs of like confirmation, like doing this, like
Mm.
in terms of things that happened where I was really down and then something really big happened, like big to me. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And that was like, okay, I'll keep pushing. I'm not gonna
Keep
stay
going.
in
Yeah.
this I'm not gonna stay in this funk.
Yeah.
Um, and it's crazy because, bro, I think a lot of the times attitude is very important, because
Mm.
if you actually have a poor attitude, it doesn't matter what sign you get. You know what I mean? It'll always have a tint, like a dark tint to it. Like it'll always be like
Mm.
you won't see it for what it is. When it's a
Yeah.
it'll be a good thing, but it's like you don't have any appreciation or you're still not believing really.
Yeah.
And so you kind of dismiss it. Whereas if you're like really you're really like doing this with conviction, I think any sign is like confirmation. Like for me, like I really eat up small wins a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, well, that happened, so everything I did was right. But depending on who you ask, that may be crazy, or maybe not crazy, but like ill-informed to like be like, bro, that doesn't mean that's a sign. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like on your attitude, and your
Exactly.
and like the perspective you have on what you're doing. So for me, I could be like, oh, once upon a time I was making no passive income off music, and now I am.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I've seen how hard it was to do that, I'm like, whoa, to me, this is good. Whereas I could also be like, wow, I still can't afford to do A, B, C, and D. So
Mm.
this has to not be a good thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's almost saying like, oh, because of that same sign, maybe I should deviate or pivot or take my foot off the gas. So
Right.
I think that's why, you know, confirmation is like so important, but it's almost like the lens in which you see it, which is
Mm-hmm.
just as important. Because like I've gotten signs for stuff and I'm like, damn, I still don't believe though. But that's not because of
Mm-hmm.
the sign, it was because of me. And that could, hey, make you down, make you depressed, make you self-sabotaging, which
Yep.
happens a lot, I think, in the creative field, where a
Yeah.
lot of this people just don't believe in themselves, and whatever positivity they do get, it's kind of like, nah, nah. So yeah, and I saw, the book you got that you showed me, the Ikigai book, like it
Mm-hmm.
just makes me think of that because it's, a lot of it about is like just accepting things as they come almost. It's a
Yeah.
very like accepting state of mind where you're
Yeah.
very like, okay, what is in front of me?
Mm-hmm.
How can I best absorb the best, like the good in this,
Yeah.
and to almost not be attached too much to anything. And I feel like, yeah, man, a lot of that is the power of the mind. Like,
Yeah. Nah, for
you
real.
know,
And I think sometimes confirmation can come all at once,
hmm
and it's super uncomfortable. Like you're recognizing, you can recognize that it's a good thing, but when it happens, when a bunch of stuff happens all at once, it's kind of like you start kind of second guess yourself. Like, am I prepared for this? Am I ready for this? Which I mean, I don't think you'll ever be ready. That's the point. You just take the risk.
right,
Um, but in those moments where things get overwhelming, but it's a good overwhelming, you kind of just have to deal with that uncomfortable feeling. And I think that's where the self sabotage comes in. A lot of people reject it when everything's happening at once, and they remain comfortable because that's where they feel safe. But I don't know. Safety is very overrated. Like
very, very,
very overrated. There's no movement, no dynamics in being safe. Nobody who got where anybody wants to be has done it safely. They've broken rules. They've um, listened to the signs, and I think they make it simple. Like, does this move me forward to my goal, or does this push me back? And they kind of move off of that logic instead of being so emotional about it. And I think that's powerful, being able to separate your emotions from logic, or having those two ways of thinking.
yeah. I think something you said earlier, like everything's a choice. So how you choose to feel safe, you know what I mean? You can almost like program yourself to feel safe in uncertainty. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So that's what's really interesting about like what we do, because there are people who are safe, they feel safe in very crazy situations
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, because of what they told themselves,
Mm-hmm.
like what they're doing. It's almost like they don't care about logic or like what is right, or they almost create their own system of like
Yeah.
understanding shit. So it's funny when you say that because it's like I feel like emotion is just like so important. Like as much as I think about emotion and logic, it's like if
Hmm.
you really feel you're doing the right thing, like you can almost trick yourself to do anything,
Yeah.
you know? And especially what we're doing, what we chose to do, especially what's happening in the world right now. It's crazy. It's like this paradox of like saying this is the best time for creative entrepreneurs, but it's also the toughest time to be like we're also living this crazy
Mm.
economy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where it's
Yeah.
really tough to build your own thing, but it's not. But it still
Yeah.
is. So we're in this point where I feel like we have a huge majority of people who want to be entrepreneurs and kind of like be rich off their profiles, and
Hmm.
everybody wants to be seen and rich and whatever. And then there's a minority of people who are really doing it, I think. Like really
Yeah.
building something,
Yeah.
but it's the best time for it, but still there's a huge like fear. You know what I mean? There's a huge like
Mm.
hesitation, there's huge anxiety, I think, towards this field that's actually booming in a way we've never seen before. So that's why this
Yeah.
thing about emotion is interesting. Because like there's people who are like, yeah, I know it's hard. I don't care. And then there's people who are like, it's so hard. What am I gonna do? You know what I mean? They're just worrying every day. Like they're anxious every day.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you advise people to get out of that, or honestly, how you getting out of that. 'Cause I've definitely been in there for real.
I feel like you just have to be real with yourself. And it goes back to your why. Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
The only way to figure out that why is one to look outside of your field and just recognize the signs of what feels good and what you feel the best doing in terms of like service and helping others. That's where your why is going to come from, not necessarily a selfish place. But why why are you doing why are you doing what you're doing, or why do you aspire to reach this certain level or goal or milestone? If it's rooted in vanity, I used to think that was a bad thing, but as long as you're honest with yourself,
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with it. Just understand um what comes with that. Like you're not gonna have certain opportunities or certain things available to you depending on why you're doing something. So if you're doing it because of purpose and you believe it's what you've been put here to do, um, what does the economy matter? What does
Yeah.
what does anything matter? Like there is nothing. You know, when there's a will, there's a way. Truly,
Hell
but
yeah.
if your reason for doing things is rooted in something not negative, but like not progressive, there'll always be something in your way to um, deter you. And I think now for me, everything that's going on in the world, it doesn't affect my grind or like what I'm doing. I kind of have to take time to see what's going on in the world. Like there's a lot going on that I'm just unaware of because I'm so like this.
Mhm.
And I have the opposite where I have to kind of just make myself aware of my surroundings and what's going on in the world because your art should reflect the times most of the time.
Right. Shout out to
uh,
Nina Simone.
mm-hmm. Yep. So I don't know, and I think kind of like last week we talked about detachment. Your why shows up in moments of detachment, not being so connected to other people's opinions and what they're doing.
Mhm.
um, Finding time to be by yourself and really audit what you value. That's where it'll show up. But like you said, there's a lot going on, so a lot of people don't have that time.
Yeah. That's the thing, because people have jobs and people have lives, and a lot of the times the creative part of their life is something on the side,
Hmm.
and so you almost treat it like a side.
Yeah. What do you say to that? Because we both had jobs and decided to leave.
Mm. Um, I don't think I could have lived with myself at a job because the voice in my head saying this is not where we're supposed to be just got really loud, and I was unable to enjoy whatever benefits a job gave me. You know what I mean? And I just felt like out of place, like existentially. That makes sense. And I remember just thinking like I'd rather go through the trials and tribulations of an entrepreneur than to be an employee and honestly have my potential shorted. I mean, that's what I felt like. And so, yeah, I just remember taking that risk, which really didn't even seem like a risk. It just felt like saving myself, honestly.
Yeah.
But it was honestly through because I find that painful, funnily enough, even though I got paid. But it was through like that pain where I realized what I wanted to fight for, like more of my why.
Hmm.
But to me, I don't think your why is something that comes in full. I think maybe you mentioned this, but it's something that comes in bits over time, and you kind of just stack upon your why, and then your why gets bigger, and then that just gives you more fuel. So
Yeah.
it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy almost. It's like you do your thing, something good happens, you're like, "Yep, that's why I did this." And then
Yeah.
things get better, and then you see more signs, and then I mean, at the same time, you know, obstacles are definitely doing its thing,
Mhm.
mentally, physically, financially, whatever. But again, it's back to the choice, you know, what do you choose to attach to? You know what I mean? And what do you
Yeah.
choose to detach to? I think.
And both you and I are very privileged to have even been able to make that choice. You know all of the reasons like why I'm saying that. Some people don't have the luxuries we have.
Mhm.
You know, two parent household, people who are supporting us, um, and give us the opportunity to not work
Right.
and thug it
True.
out.
Yeah.
You know, some people don't have a choice, and you know, on one side, you know, I recognize how, you know, privileged and grateful I am to be able to suffer the way I do, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And I know it's for a reason. I know that I have this opportunity to help those who may not be as, you know, have those advantages. So it kind of balances out, but I have a lot of people in my acceptance speech for sure. Cause
Yeah.
definitely, you know, I'm not doing this alone. Even though it may feel like it sometimes, we're not, we're far from doing this alone.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's you know what they say, it takes a village to raise an artist, and I think there's two important parts of that. I think you having a support system that allows you to thrive and evolve over the years is like irreplaceable, you know?
Hmm.
Like despite maybe people not understanding what I'm doing in its entirety,
Yeah.
people still play their role, whether it's like family, friends, people along the way, who come and go, who've helped you, and maybe you know, you aren't in contact with them anymore, but they
Yeah.
still played a huge role in things
Hmm.
becoming what they're becoming.
Hmm.
But I think another part of that village analogy is that you have to be in it. You know what I mean? Like, sure, it takes a village to raise an artist, but you have to be that guy who says, "Yeah, I don't mind leading this," because that's essentially what it is. You know what I mean? You're putting yourself in the forefront.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the things in art in general is you're saying like, "This is who I am." You know, whether it's in your work, whether it's in your marketing, your branding, your communications and stuff. So that's just like so important that you take the support you have and whatever momentum and really use it as a fuel. And I think what we're talking about now is like empowering yourself within your village because I think everyone does have a village, really,
Yeah.
especially if you do good work and you believe in yourself, I think everybody wants to see that person win ultimately.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
it's like, are you capitalizing on that? And that doesn't have to be a, a nasty bad thing. It literally just saying there is love around you, but what are you giving to this? You
Yeah.
know? And again, the why. And just back to the why. So
The why. Yeah. And last week, this saying kept presenting itself. We were in the schools last week. My sister gave us the opportunity to speak at the Baltimore School of Design.
nice.
Um, had a couple events and just a bunch of good stuff happening last week. And after the week kind of starting off a little shitty, it was me, the guys. We were about to get something to eat, and just a bunch of good stuff happened all at once. Going back to that, just that confirmation and paying attention to the signs, and we kind of just had this conversation about how everything counts. Everything matters
Mhm.
to how you greet people, to how you send emails on time, how you show up to places, the smallest little things, how you dress, how you approach the work when it's presented. Everything counts as long as you understand that why. You're always going to be moving, everything coming towards you, and everything counts. So don't look at obstacles and things against you as things that are against you. Everything put in your way, when you understand why it's in your way, or where you're going, is just a test.
Yeah,
And last week was definitely a testament to just keep going,
yeah.
keep going.
Everything
Yeah,
is happening for you. I think that was like the biggest mindset shift I've had.
everything's happening for you.
Yeah. And if you really believe that out here, I feel like you're as strong as anybody, to be honest, because it's like whatever happens doesn't really sway you. You know what I mean? And like when you know your why, I mean, once you're at a point where you know your why, I feel like life gets a little easier.
Yeah,
It's like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm going through some tough times, but like I can see a path like forging like as I continue doing this. And I
yep,
think sadly we have a lot of people who have great ability, great imagination, whatever it may be, but their path is something they've never really thought of,
yeah,
And so they're kind of just like wandering around. Whereas like to me, I think finding your why is like that's when everything I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do everything I want to do. It's a matter of timing. That's it, you know.
yeah.
And
And it's
yeah.
it's a blessing. It's a blessing to be presented with a challenge, because it means you're worthy, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
And you'll know that you're on the right path. We see this all the time when the path disappears, when things don't make sense, when you do have those moments when you're alone. All of that shit, that hellstorm, it's good. It may feel like shit, but that is that is confirmation right there.
Mhm.
If you weren't worthy, or you weren't on the right path, things would be easy. You wouldn't have to use your brain, or use your skills, your gifts. Everything would seem easy. Um, it's the it's a huge contradiction, but what everything is, you know,
Right.
it's like you have to. It's so sick, bro. I think we talked about this last episode, or one of our talks off camera, but you have to rewire your brain. The bad is actually good, and the really good is oftentimes bad.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you gotta really make your decisions with honesty, like make authentic decisions, and
exactly,
they
exactly.
won't lead you astray. Like they're always gonna lead you to that why.
You said it. Honesty.
Hmm.
As long as you're honest in whatever you do, you're